Well, after spending the last 3 days on the UNLV campus, speaking to students, faculty, and staff who experienced Wednesday's deadly shooting, I talked to an expert who says that there is trauma not only in being at this active shooter situation, but also in the rescue.
We were all somewhere on the campus when we got the text notifications from the UNLV PD that there was an active shooter. My wife and I were in CBC and we ran to the dorms where these two were. We were informed by our RAs, no one talk, no one move, no one make noise, lights off.
For 4 hours, Sophia Wentz, Jolene Jones, Summer McLean, and Devin Ellison sheltered in place, all in different hiding spots, in the dark and in total silence.
There was news about, hey, there was a suspected someone in UCC, which meant they were moving closer to my dorm and where we were all hiding. That was terrifying.
While we did expect someone to knock on the door, what happened instead was an officer came into the hall, announced their presence and said, everyone get out now, hands up. There were only 2 doors that opened to that hallway.
When they were evacuating, of course they have to, they had their guns raised, and that's traumatic in itself to be yelled at and then have guns present, and they were doing their jobs, but at the same time we're just all a little freaked out.
The police responds to get students to safety, leaving a lasting impact days later.
When one is in a crisis time like that, it's extremely helpful to have emergency personnel who risk their lives to come and save and do the best they can to serve this community. The victims of that are experiencing trauma. And even being saved from a traumatic event is traumatic.
Dr. Sid Khurana is a psychiatrist with Nevada Mental Health. He says there's only one way to explain how this kind of trauma resonates with victims.
Think about if your nightlight became a floodlight. That is what is happening. Your brain is perceiving threat and danger. And we can't even say that they're perceiving threat and danger when there isn't one, because up until a couple minutes ago, the victims who were hiding, or the students, they didn't know which way this was going to go. While it is reassuring to hear that this is police, their amygdala is firing and they are really perceiving threat, and they don't know whether it is police or is it now a step to get them out and they get killed.
He says it could take hours, days, or even weeks before the shock and adrenaline of this day wears off. And for these students, it'll be a while before they return to campus.
I don't want to go back to my dorm anytime soon, because like just being in there, it brings back too many memories of just what we just went through.
Well, tonight we want to make sure that we are covering all aspects of how intense these moments are for not only the victims, but also the first responders who are running into danger. Tonight we are joined with the retired Clark County coroner, Mike Murphy. Mike, you have been with us on Wednesday as the situation was unfolding. But tonight we want to talk about how these first responders, what is going through their mind as they're running into this situation.
Well, thank you for having me, Paulina. I think there's several things we need to talk about for just a minute. The first one is, let's recognize the absolute amazing response that we had from first responders. The quick response time absolutely made a difference while we had certainly 3 people that died in this process. It could have been much, much, much worse. And so we want to recognize that they were on it, and they did an absolutely phenomenal job. Having said that, while they're going in through these doorways and going through these different buildings, checking everything, they're getting information, oftentimes like you do through an earphone, right? And then they're talking to different officers as they're proceeding. Every door that they go into, every corner that they go around, every building that they enter could be where they're now going to confront the suspect or another suspect. And in many instances now they're confronting people who are victims or are being evacuated, whether it's faculty or staff or visitors, and they're having to constantly, in a fraction of a second, shift gears. This is a friendly, this is not, and then as that's progressing and they're talking to each other, let's not forget that then in some of the video you notice that you can hear the officers actually starting to comfort people and saying, we have you, you're safe, right, you're going to be okay, move here and move there. But they still have to do that with a command presence. And so this is not a one-dimensional issue. It is certainly multifaceted, and there's a lot going on.
Absolutely. And Mike, I do want to reiterate, I was out there for 3 days this week talking to faculty, staff, and students, and they all said the same thing, that, you know, they are so thankful for how quickly police responded, that the response was incredible. But again, that moment is so terrifying when police is coming in.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. And, you know, guns are drawn, and I think everybody realizes this is a life or death situation. And without a doubt, this will be a moment that they will remember, that will be literally etched on their mind for the rest of their lives. I don't have any doubt about that. I can't say what they're going through because I have not gone through that. But I can only imagine, and certainly it is going to be something that's going to be with them for a long time.
And we also spoke to Dr. Khurana earlier today, and he gives us a little bit more perspective as to what first responders are also going through, and he's a psychiatrist. So let's roll that right now.
Emergency personnel or first responders, when they get a call like this, they just rush. Their adrenaline system, their sympathetic nervous system just pumps and fires, and they go and do what it takes to protect the community. Sometimes they don't even have time to think, but some have that. Is this the last call they are going to be making? And we know officers who sacrifice their lives serving the community and protecting that. And it is extremely traumatic event, not just for the students in this case, or the victims, but for the first responders who do not know what to expect when they are being called to serve, because there's a huge unknown.
And there was so much unknown that day, Mike, right? Because we kept hearing so many different things, so much misinformation or information that was still unfolding. And mental health has really become the issue or topic, I said, at the forefront as we're going through this for both first responders and these students.
I think one of the things that we're doing better at as time has progressed over the couple of decades is that we're much better at recognizing that everybody needs appropriate mental health. They need the ability to say, hey, I need some help. I want to talk to somebody about this. I don't think it's something that we force upon people, but I certainly think it's something that we offer to them and make sure that we say, are you okay? And if you're not, let's talk about that, or let's have you talk with someone, that it's okay to not always be okay. And that's going through not only the minds of the faculty and students and visitors that were there, but the first responders will go through too. They have to have the ability, and this is one of the things they do on their job every day, to constantly change emotions from, you know, they're going 1,000 miles an hour to now they're back to normal, to, you know, to going again. And that changing of gears and emotionally changing is something that they deal with on a routine basis.